What's going on, YouTube world? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Dusty, and as always, this is the Shred Academy. Today, we're gonna be covering the two-wheeled lift and why it's the worst platform for a beginner jumper to base their jumping progression off of. Now, I've had a bunch of comments that say, oh, it's fine for beginners, and I do not buy it. And that's for one simple reason. We have muscle memory. So if you learn something one way now, and in 3 months go to a bigger lip, you just can't suddenly go, okay, I'm gonna do it that way now. You're gonna be stuck in your muscle memory trying to relearn how to deal with these bigger, steeper lips while you're using this down and up motion. So let's go ahead and break down why this two-wheel lift doesn't work and why the J-hop is the only way to go. Yeah, we're in an alley right now filming this one, so let's get to it. All these cars are going by. Hey everybody, I wanted to take a quick second and thank everybody that has reached out to help me go to race the Fox US Open in Killington, Vermont here in a couple weeks. Barry's Backcountry Adventure, awesome, I appreciate you. Edward Hicks, 2397, I appreciate you. Nanner LLC, big thanks to you as well. Brian Stewart, good looking out, bud. Guy K, thanks a lot. Motocross 510, thank you. Craig Gallagher, I really appreciate you guys. Now, I still need 4 sponsors to really cinch this whole thing up. It's $100. Your name goes on my jersey. I mention you on the channel. If you have a company that you'd like me to shout out on the channel and drop a link of your website, I can do that. I want to make the $100 worth it to you. It will help get me there, create content, interact with the community, and kind of spread my message of ride hard, ride safe, be kind to each other, and learn correctly, and get the Shred Academy name out there. So the link is in the description. Thanks a lot if you can help out. And then again, if you'd like to leave a super thanks, remember that I have a PayPal link. Send it as friends and family. YouTube takes just about half of the super thanks. So, okay guys, let's get back to the content. I know you guys hate hearing this, but it's kind of the way I have to do things. I don't want to put a bunch of ads from companies in here, maybe ads about me. Okay everybody, to get a true understanding of why this two-wheel lift is an awful base for beginners to build their jumping progression off of, let's really break the two-wheel lift down on flat ground before we take it over to the jump. And what we're going to be looking for here is basically how the body and bike work together to create some sort of smooth arc in the air, which is what jumping is, right? It's going off of a lip, catching air, and then landing back down on the other side. So let's see what happens here as we do this two-wheel lift off flat ground. Now, as we start our body weight preload, we go straight into doing a full bike suspension preload, and then go straight into exploding up. Now notice as I explode up, my legs start to straighten and my arms start to straighten. Now there's really one thing connecting me to this bike. That's my arms. So essentially I'm gonna have to pick this bike up with just my arms, unless, yes, I'm clipped in, of which we all know that's still not going to work. It doesn't matter. If you are clipped in, my rebuttal to you is you're still not creating a good arc doing this whole lifting motion. So let's still keep breaking it down. So as we go forward, right, I said that our arms are straightened, our legs are straightening to lift this bike up. Now, as I am unweighted here, okay, I'm going to now try to pick the bike up with my arms. Let's watch what happens to my body. It starts to move forward. Yes, the bike is going up, but I'm also basically pulling myself down to the bike more than I'm pulling the bike up to me, which then sets me in this really bad position to try to roll the bike forward and set the bike down so I can absorb the landing nice and easily. Now, as I land here, right, I'm almost still compacted as I land. I can't get away from the bike, right? I almost land in a already absorbed motion. Okay, look at my muscles as well. In my arms, can you see them right there? Completely like, ugh. Now, as I continue to absorb this, my body has nowhere to go now but into the front of the bike. Notice how, let's back up a little bit. I absorb down, and now I'm going forward into the bike. My knees are starting to travel, and notice how it causes the bars to turn. If I was on the landing of a jump landing like this, I'd probably get and high-sided and get over the bars. So there's a lot more I could say wrong about this. I mean, I could talk about the actual distance we travel. I mean, we're only actually traveling, if we're jumping over a log right here, the bike isn't going to make it over, right? So imagine if you're jumping off the lip of a jump, you're really not jumping off the jump. You're almost jumping up the jump, right? You're jumping up the lip, not off the lip. Let's quickly go on over to a proper way to leave flat ground, and then we'll go on over to the jump and kind of compare them and see what happens here. So as I move forward in this J-hop, body weight preload, and then my hips move back, and then right, I'm initiated front wheel lift, okay? And that's happened right here. Now, I'm going to create rear suspension preload while I get my body higher over the bike so the bike can get lifted and kind of go with me all at one time. It's going to be a, I'm dancing with a partner. I know a couple of you hated that, but I'll use it right here only once, right? So as I now start to explode up and the bike's going up with me kind of, right here, as I reach my peak where I'm going to have to start to pull the bike up and I'm weightless at this point, okay? Now I can pick the bike up and roll it as well as kind of scoop it with my feet. And I have two ways to get the bike off the ground. I've got picking up and rolling with my forearms and shoulders, as well as I've got scooping with my feet. Double the power. Now, as I pick the bike up and roll it forward, right, I can absorb with that front fork and then down into my rear suspension and somewhat into my knees. And the bike travels forward and I'm ready to just go at whatever comes next. Lastly, I'm going to talk about the distance we travel, okay? Now, my front wheel leaves the ground here. I'm going to say right there. Now, I may not clear this all the way, but I'm going to get much closer than just what I did in the two-wheel lift. This is essentially the bump jump. I may have cleared it. Yeah, I think I would have cleared it. You guys can be the judge. You let me know. But I'd be jumping off the lip here, not up the lip. Now let's go on over to an actual jump and we'll compare what happens with both these styles and we can reestablish and reaffirm, I can't think of the word, why this two-wheeled lift is awful and should be stricken from the biking world unless you're doing a flat drop 360 off of a drop. Blah. Sorry, let's move on. Words are hard. Now that we've taken a look at the two-wheeled lift and how it affects body bike motion on flat ground, let's take a look at what can happen using it off the lip and see what goes wrong and to see if anything kind of goes right. Now, what goes right is I do make it across and it doesn't look that awful. But there's a lot of ways, if we do this, 10 times, that things could go wrong. So as we go forward here, yes, we are going to preload our body weight a little early because essentially we're just trying to explode right here. Okay, now here's where it all goes wrong. I am essentially making myself weightless while I still got a whole bike length to go to leave this lip. So the first problem is you're basically creating a whole bike length more distance that you're trying to clear as you're trying to jump up the lip, right? Not off the lip. And then you've got to clear the distance to make the landing. Okay, so our first problem is creating more distance. Now our second problem is we have unweighted ourselves here. As this rear tire travels up the lip, what happens if there's a little hole right here or a little roll right here in the lip? Luckily for me, these jumps were just resurfaced and they were running great. So I didn't really run into any of that. But if there was a hole right here and I started to roll my rear tire into it, it would then start to make the front end of my bike dive down and I have a greater chance of going over the bars. But if I were putting weight into that rear wheel going off the lip, it would be creating rear suspension preload as well as driving that wheel through any undulation in the lip. Now moving on to where it can also create problems. Now, as I've gone off the lip here, right, notice how all my body weight or body motion has stopped, okay? I'm not actually picking the bike up and rolling with it because as I've jumped up and now have to basically pick the bike up, all bike body motion has essentially stopped and I could easily go into a dead sailor as well as getting my wheel hung up on something or, man, a multitude of things. You start to fall before you've actually cleared the lip, then you really got two opposing forces there. So we've decided that we're causing extra distance for us to travel, okay? We're creating a greater chance of us going OTB by our wheel catching something in the lip, or us jumping forward over the bike, trying to jump from point A to point B. And that's caused us to then possibly go dead sailor. And if we actually look at this at full speed, let's go back. I almost do. You can almost tell that I kind of get just a little like dead sailery in the air. Now, finally, let's talk about the landing. Now, this landing isn't the worst for me, but it's definitely not smooth. Notice that I'm not able to pick the bike up really and nose in the front wheel to absorb some of that landing with my arms and then transfer it into my feet. It all kind of just happens all together. And now look at how my body weight kind of has to shift to the side. That's because, it all kind of happened at once. It was a lot of impact going straight into my legs, straight into my suspension. And because I wasn't able to kind of lighten the load with my front wheel, it all just is very heavy into my legs. And that's when you almost get those butt zips with that rear tire. Now that we have again checked out why the two-wheeled lift is bad from flat ground now to a lip, let's go and compare the two-wheeled lift to the J-hop off the lip and kind of see where our body positions differ and how they can make it easier and safer for us to fly. All right, here we have our two-wheeled lift. Sorry, big truck. Now, I get my compression, okay? Now, here's where my compression in a two-wheeled lift starts to go up again. Let's have a look at where I am in my compression in the J-hop form. I'm actually still kind of riding the bike up the lip. My explosion hasn't happened yet. So let's scoot on back over to the two-wheeled lift. Now, I'm essentially weightless here, so I have to now jump my whole bike from here all the way over to here. So let's have a look at where I'm at in that J-hop. In that J-hop, I'm just initiating my front wheel lift. I haven't taken off yet. I'm essentially still riding up the lip, using it to get airborne. And my weight is now transferred onto this rear tire. So we'll go back to our two-wheeled lift. Now, as I'm leaving the lip here, again, notice I'm at the mercy of whatever's in this lip, whatever hole and whatnot. I'm lucky these were freshly resurfaced, because any hole in here would just cause me to get flung forward. But in the J-hop, the whole time, I'm driving my weight into the lip, creating rear suspension preload, as well as pushing my wheel through any holes and undulations in the lip itself. Again, we're gonna go back to here. In the air, look, I have no control over the bike. None. I can't move the bike around. If I try to do any tricks, I'm just gonna be wiggling my hips or pulling my body down to the bike as I'm kind of already falling. But if I go over to the J-hop, I'm picking the bike up still and creating more height. I can move the bike around all I want because I've created motion off the lip, right? As I go through here, I'm moving. I'm constantly moving. I'm not stagnant off the lip. My body has a motion it's taking. I'm not going up and now I'm on it for the ride. So finally landing, as we go back here, we're gonna go land in this two-wheeled lift and boom. Okay, all at once, pretty low. Look how low I sit now. If I go over to, look at where my body's at, right? And I'm rolling away. Much smoother, okay, as I land. Front tire, rear tire, in we go. So it's safe to say that look at where my body's at. Here versus here. Here versus here. Here versus here. J-hop for the win. J-hop for the win. All right, guys, so that was our episode on why the two-wheeled lift should just never be used. Even if you're new to jumping, it's gonna lead you to bad things down the road. And I don't care if it's easier for beginners to learn this way, it's gonna lead you to bad habits later on. Now, if you can think of a reason other than to do like a flat drop 360, why you would use the two-wheeled lift, please let me know in the comments. I'm happy to entertain and maybe be proved wrong. I just can't think of a reason in all my years of doing this that you'd want to do that going off of a jump or a drop. So if you'd like to support the channel, guys, make sure you hit like, share, subscribe. If you want to make sure it lasts, become a Patreon. It's in the links below. It really helps pay my bills so I don't have to rely on the view numbers. And if you want to leave a super thanks, make sure you're using the PayPal link in the description because YouTube takes half of it, and that's not what you intended it for. So as always, guys, ride hard, ride safe, be kind to Be kind to each other out there. Bleh, it's been a long day. We're all in this together. We'll see you in the next episode. Sorry, bud. We're out of the way.